Hi, my name is Chris Kimbrough, and I'm with A Hand Up Recovery Homes. And this is our CEO,
Wilbert Cook. I'm also from A Hand Up Recovery Homes, and I'm fortunate enough to have founded and developed this organization to the point I could hire somebody as wonderful as Chris to assist us moving forward.
Thank you. So, since this is the last day of February, our Black History Month, we would like to celebrate some of our current Black historians, people that we celebrate each and every year. We celebrate the same people over and over again, but there are some of us who are making contributions to the Black community.
Well, Chris, you are absolutely right. You're making contributions to the African American community.
Yes.
And you're a playwright, you're an actress,
Yes.
you what my good word for that, my $1 million word is thespian.
Yes, I am a thespian.
And you did quite a few productions, big,
Absolutely.
Small,
Yes.
and some in between. You did monologues, you sing as well.
I do.
A wide range from R&B to church music.
Yes.
Actually, let me say from church music where I first met you.
Yes.
And you've added R&B and some jazz to your
That's
repertoire.
right. Yes.
But also, it's good because the creativity in our community is something not talked about a lot, and it gets overshadowed by the violence or those that's being creative that sometimes find themselves engaged in violence.
Right.
But there are a lot of musicians in our community we don't talk about because we're talking about the rappers all the time. And I think those young musicians, young singers in the church, out of the church, everywhere in society that's African American that use their gifts of singing to avoid the negativities and the violence should be complimented right now.
Absolutely.
And we should highlight them more often.
Yes. Yes. And if I could segue for a little
Will
bit.
you?
Yeah.
You sure you don't say it how far
I
away?
want to get away.
But anyway, go ahead.
While we were speaking on my acting career,
Okay.
I would like to plug my next play. It'll actually be next weekend. It's called Have You Ever? And the writer, director, producer, Lenora Brown Rodriguez, she's a very talented artist herself. And it's dealing with marriage and relationships, all different types of situations. And we want to help people with relationships. It will be at Morgan Park High School, and the tickets will be sold. Oh, sorry.
On our nonprofit.
Okay, sorry.
But you can call Chris at A Hand Up Recovery Homes or email her, and she'll give you more pertinent information on that play.
Yes, have you
at
ever?
Morgan Park High School.
Yes.
On the south side of the city.
It'll be
in
next
a
Friday
Beverly
and
community, or
Saturday.
is that considered Chatham? Beverly community. I think it's the Beverly community at Morgan Park. And it should be a delight and treat. And we all know, whether you're young, old, or somewhere in between, there's bound to be some kind of relationship situation.
That's right.
And I dare say problem. Misunderstanding.
Absolutely. We do deal with some problems.
We from Mars.
Yeah.
Where y'all from?
Okay. Well, getting back to A Hand Up. We have several people that come to us that are always reaching out because they just want someone to talk to. Communication is key in any situation under the sun. Nothing is possible without communication. And that's what we try to make first and foremost, is actually reaching out and making a connection with people. The thing is, a lot of them just happen to just want somebody to talk to and someone to listen to them, because they don't have that available to them. because if you're out on the street and, your surrounding buddies, your circle of friends, that you hang with, you're not able to actually open up to them. So we're always there to have that open ear, our shoulder to cry on, open arms, and a prayer away.
Definitely, all of that and some. Actually, we even have really trying to turn the corner. Me and Chris in particular, and working to help transition the organization into more mental health,
Yes.
emotional health services.
Absolutely.
So we're starting to look at that. And it's interesting because we're starting to get emails out of the blue from different agencies saying that things are available. And then I happened to look up at CBS the other day, and they were talking about Mental Health Awareness Day
Yes.
and month, and that they're doing things, and that they are in a collaboration, I believe, with Target and trying to get community grants to community organizations so that the nonprofits and other groups can provide more events and opportunities for people to come in or meet at different locations around the communities to discuss their mental, emotional health.
Absolutely.
So dealing with things, which sometimes we talk about depression and anxiety, or is somebody potentially paranoid, or what other terms like schizophrenia, but there are milder symptoms that snowball into those issues.
True.
There's milder symptoms of anxiety that then turns into some pretty deep situations.
Right.
And it starts with some loneliness sometimes. It starts with sadness sometimes. It starts with struggling to feel fulfilled in what you're doing or on jobs or in family situations. And we want to talk about all those not small, but all those emotions when they're not handled. Or we don't find ways out of what they call the funk.
Right.
Or being distraught for a minute can turn into distraught for a day or even for weeks. And, a mental health professional at my job just finished getting her master's at Bradley in psychology. And she was talking about how oftentimes people just do not realize how their lack of learning new behaviors to handle their struggles creates such a dysfunction in the rest of their life.
Wow.
And I was like, wow.
That's deep.
And she said it so quick, I was like, and I was still trying to compute all she said so quickly, but how you can snowball when some people need medication. She doesn't really advocate medication, but she said people need it. And then if not, they will go from missing a day of work to about to lose their job to not function enough to keep up with bills to possibly not paying rent for a few.
Right.
And now you put somebody in that struggle, and please don't put them around alcohol and drugs
Right.
when they're not taking some medicine to help stabilize them emotionally or mentally. Then you have a recipe for a true human disaster.
Right.
And so, but it's a lot of stages in between that hopefully we can learn to help people and be their intervention, be their venting station, be their mirror to reflect off of. And as I think you say often and other people say, non-judgmental mirror.
Absolutely.
It's not for me to tell you what's wrong with you or something's wrong with you. It's for me to understand you're having a human struggle.
Absolutely.
And I want to help you not end up totally dysfunctional.
Right.
Because of it, because it's repairable.
Absolutely.
And like all other illnesses, diabetes, my obesity, other folks, high blood pressure, if we work on it in its earliest stages, which I wasn't listening to when I was younger, you can avoid the severity of those situations later and the negative impacts they can have on your life or lifestyle or lifespan.
Right.
Likewise, with mental health, we don't talk enough about it. That can destroy a person's quality of living. However, if we start helping each other at earlier stages when we're younger, as teenagers or young adults or middle-aged adults, wherever we may jump in, if we jump in earlier, we can prevent some disasters in their life, our lives, in society because of unresolved and and mental health issues that we haven't tried to help people deal with.
True. Some of the mental health events that we've held were dealing with anger management, depression, grief, what else? Anxiety. Well, we've had several different mental health
diagnosis.
Oh yeah, several of the mental health events that we've held. We always have a professional in that field that they have a presentation. They open it up for question and answers, and people are really open with whatever they're going through, whatever struggle in that particular point of whatever subject that we're talking about at the moment. And some of those professionals actually have had to, have them to come to their office at a different time, an hour and everything, but we don't just come haphazardly, just talking about something, we want to make sure that we have certified professionals that are there to help you. That's the bottom line, is we just want to help.
And we want to say that it's okay.
Right.
Matter of fact, it may be necessary.
Absolutely.
It is. We need to take the stigma off of mental health, emotional health issues, and accept it for what it is. Just like growing old.
Yeah. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen if you live long enough.
Right.
If you live in our society, especially today, with all the stressors that come with capitalism, we don't like talk about. We talk about like, oh, you can just go get rich today, or you can just go get an education, get a great job. You can just go play basketball and get to the NBA, or if you're fortunate, the G League, or go over to Europe.
Right.
All of that can create a lot of stressors of different types that can help destroy a person's mental health when they can't reach some of those goals in life.
Politics.
Or things don't seem to be going as well. Right. Politics.
Racism. There's so many different types of stressors, and some people take those things to the extreme, to the point where that's their only focus in life. And when you're solely concentrated on this one subject, how can you have a healthy life, dealing with anything else that matters? If you're solely focused on who's running in this election or whose color is what,
And then in impoverished communities, they don't sometimes even get to the level of elections. The great athlete in the family got to lead everybody out of the dope trade.
Right.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is.
You got a family that's 3-4 generations deep, going in and out the penitentiary, representing this organization or that organization, or this faction now or this faction.
That's true.
And sometimes different factions, and it's internal wars. But because you're an athlete, and they actually put this as a subject in one of the Power series, 50 Cent them, that the athlete's supposed to lead the family, which is a reality. Sometimes the transition is who can be successful in business, or who can be successful in athletics and help guide us from the other negative ways to make money, whether it's the old policy game from the 50s, 60s that turned into the lottery and undercut that economy in poor communities, and it went to the state.
Right.
But it's a void there. So more and more people went to drug selling. We don't like to talk about that, but when the state took over the policy game, there was developed on the streets of New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Memphis, and all over America,
Right.
all communities,
Absolutely.
especially the poor ones. And now between the nice casinos we can ride to in 10, 20 minutes either direction. And now Chicago, you can take the train in 10, 20 minutes. You ain't even have to be able to have a car to go park and pay valet. You can take a train almost to the doorstep or the bus.
Right.
But those things take money out communities, but create and leave mental, emotional issues.
Right.
And if unresolved, the community members, especially in poor communities, implode on one another, which exacerbates our violence. It's not just because of drug dealings. There's a lot of different factors that help create violence that happen with people in poverty or in a society that's working toward capitalism, but a lot of people stuck on the bottom rung of the system.
Right.
They're not getting to the middle class, upper class. Matter of fact, they say if we get some other people in as politicians, public figures, we might only have two classes, the poor and the rich.
That's true.
Which means there's gonna be a civil war every time it happens. And if you look at all the foreign countries, third world countries we're in the middle of their wars, half of it is the economy.
Yes.
Russia really doesn't want Ukraine because we make it political, but it's not really just political. It's to enhance their economy and their control of the economy.
Right.
And some resources that's in Ukraine that's just as popular, or Africa, been in turmoil for years because of all the raw minerals and diamonds and everything else that's in the African continent. And the people are at war as well as people outside trying to control those wars.
Right.
Likewise, the drug trade brings a lot of people a lot of money outside of the poor communities. And that's why drugs are so pervasive.
Yeah.
You know, and this is a whole nother set of issues. But it also, the bottom line, all of those factors helping people stay poor, struggle, and feeding them economy that causes more violence contributes to the violence.
Right.
That cause more addiction, substance abuse contributes. Where you find liquor stores before you can find a grocery store contributes. Wherever there's more liquor consumed, since the movies, the cowboy and Indian movies we watched growing up, that means there's going to be some fighting and some shooting.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
think about all liquor stores in poor communities like Lawndale, North Lawndale, South Lawndale to a lesser extent, but also East West Garfield, Austin. It was oftentimes we have more liquor stores than we have grocery, or the law in city allows for liquor stores to be combined with groceries, the little small convenience grocery items.
Right.
In a lot of states in the South and elsewhere, in some northern states, liquor stores are totally separate from wherever they sell groceries and food and convenience items. There's a few snack items at best.
And they sell alcohol
cigarettes separated in different facilities.
Pharmacies like Walgreens and stuff. You know, they sell alcohol in a place that you're going for health needs. And the simple fact that we have more casinos opening up, it's a lot of people that are already in a desperate need for funding, you know, in their own pockets. And then they're going to the casino to hit it big, you know, and it's just a trap. The casino is always going to win, you know, and then you're coming back, I didn't catch that number. I didn't get that 7 or whatever. So then they're coming back, they're spending their paychecks on going to the casino, and then that's why we have all these commercials on, do you have a gambling problem? You know, because it is an addiction that's very quickly and easily adapted to.
But then they got the major celebrities promoting FanDuel.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's something we don't talk about as much. We talk about even the drugs, the alcohol we're touching on. But this gambling thing
is a serious
contributing
problem
to violence in the streets. Whether they shooting dice, we'll talk about the dice game that went bad. But we're not talking about some of these people that really end up imploding in their communities because they've gambled at major casinos and went home desperate. And gotten into some desperate situations that caused them to decline mentally and emotionally.
Absolutely.
And pour a little alcohol on that bad night of gambling and no telling how volatile a situation can get. It may cost us a whole family, unfortunately.
Right, because they're always giving away free alcohol at a casino. Not that I know myself.
Well, I know. Thank God I don't drink.
I do know
anymore. I mean, I know, and I don't drink anymore, so they don't get past my $200. But I watch people spend $2-3 grand.
Oh yeah,
and come up to me like, "Don't you want to give me $100, $200?" I'm like,
"Yeah,
I'll give you what's left of my 50 or 60 left out of my 200 I play, but no, I'm not going over my amount."
True.
For you to blow?
Exactly.
Or you gonna blow through my debit card too?
Right.
not me.
I used to live in Mississippi.
I don't nobody else's misery like that.
Yeah, I lived in Mississippi, and they have an all-you-can-eat crab buffet at the casino. So
you still got some crab.
So my girl and I would go to have the crab legs every week, and of course we play every week at the casino. And
so how much the crab legs normally cost at the restaurant down the street?
I honestly don't know.
How much would you play? But anyway,
I know. But I would always put my bill money and everything set aside, and then I take just a couple and go play with.
Okay.
My
all right.
friend
Well, you had good concert. Your friend, see, look, the friend
she didn't do that.
The friend ended up sponsoring that extra room they got every week. You know,
exactly.
The friend $2-3 grand. Got them a break-even room that only costs $50 a night.
Exactly.
Even though they charge $100, $150, $160, but they would comp them the room, the break-even line, and business break-even is how much it really costs you. And everything above break-even is profit, generally speaking.
True.
So break-even point may be $50 for the room, but you're gonna spend $5 grand out of that check that you got that weekend. Why wouldn't they let you stay 2-3 nights?
Yeah.
To exhaust
so you
that
can play
money?
some more. Right.
You know. So the reality is, free is not free
Ever.
Even these government grants that sometimes people promote as free money, that's your tax dollars, everyone.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the truth. That's your tax dollars. So when everybody unfortunately, all the COVID-related fraud cost us taxpayers in the end. And we're only going to recoup a fraction.
Right.
And if they go to jail, we're going to spend another $10,000, $20,000 that year taking care of them while they're in jail. So we really don't gain anything out of that. Even though some people are going to go to jail because to try to, quote, teach lessons. But other people are going to pay some semblance of restitution. It's going to be minimum compared to what they may have gotten. But the reality is, it wasn't free money.
Right.
It's the tax dollars you pay. When you see your check, when you work. And that's why some people love the street life, being self-employed and other things to make money is because a lot of times they don't end up having to pay Uncle Sam. So if they make 100, they keep 100, other than what they spend to go get new supplies.
Right.
Whichever business they in, whichever supplies, whether it's hair, whether it's doing hair, whether it's shining shoes, whatever. Oftentimes, if they don't do it in an established legal facility, then they get to pocket the majority of that funds. Where all us who work for a living, 20 to 25%, sometimes if you're in a real high income bracket, even more, goes to the government. And that's where people end up doing fraudulent activity and or the quote grant money for different programs and services to help keep the bottom rung of society up, so we don't have a civil war, people. They a lot of times capitalism don't love poor people that much.
Oh, absolutely.
But too much unrest, like you see in poor communities, all the violence. If the whole society has too much of that unrest, you can get what they call civil wars, like the one we had, in 18. The exact dates, I'm not that good with. I'm not that kind of historian.
Good with dates at all.
But the Civil War was about economy. It wasn't about slavery.
Right.
And Abraham Lincoln didn't free us because he gave the South the right to keep re-imprisoning the slaves, or what they call servitude labor, indentured servitude. So that ain't quite free. It's close to free. But anyway, it's a whole nother story on that. But it was over economy. The slave labor gave the South an advantage in the economy because they didn't have an overhead. That break-even point on all business transactions was near zero on labor. The break-even on labor was zero. Labor was all profit in the South, while the North was paying whatever the wages were for labor in the North, which means the South were making hundreds of thousands. Like the analogy, the drug dealer keeping his money and not paying taxes.
Right.
The South had their slaves making money off them, and they didn't have to pay no substantial amount of government taxes on that, and they didn't have to pay the labor force.
Right.
Slavery mean the labor was free.
True.
And that was what the Civil War was really about. And please, those who in Black History Month know that Black history, we weren't free, and that's why we have Juneteenth, because many of the people in the South didn't even find out till substantial time after the war was over that they were supposed to be free already. Ain't that something? They were supposed to already been free.
Right.
Free, y'all. Anyway, I might have to go try to get in a play with you next year. So I can say free, y'all. Ain't free. Freedom not free, and free items not free.
Absolutely.
So we have to understand that.
Yeah. So, with that being said,
yeah, we're probably wrapping up at some point.
I know. We don't know.
Yeah. They blessed us with an extra few minutes.
I know. Well, with that said, we wish you a good night, and thank you for joining us tonight.
It's been a plum pleasing pleasure, even if Les Brown taught me the line.